Hey everyone, welcome to A Loop Through a Loop. I'm Tara. This is the end of August 2023. I'm going to share with you some of the things that I've been working on and some things that are coming up. So, to start off, what I finished. My brother and sister-in-law are expecting a baby in December around my birthday. So there's the possibility that I might have a birthday buddy, and just that possibility is exciting for me. So I've got to make the little guy something. The first thing is not actually something that I made, but a blanket that my grandmother had made. So when I had our oldest, my grandmother had given me 2 blankets, and I thought that was really weird because we only had one kid. And just for some reason, I was given 2 blankets. And so I've held on to them. And when I found out that my sister-in-law was pregnant, I immediately thought, the other blanket. They're supposed to have the second blanket. So then our family and their family, they each have a blanket from grandma. So she crocheted this. I would consider her a prolific crocheter. She crocheted lots of doilies, lots of Barbie gowns, mostly doilies are what I remember. I don't remember her really. She would crochet a blanket, like my mom asked. I know at least one time, maybe 2 times, asked if my grandmother would crochet her a blanket if she bought all the yarn. And so my grandmother ended up making her a blanket, but most of what I remember as a kid is seeing her crochet doilies. And then also baby blankets. So, I mean, she would have made this 8 years ago. And I thought, it's good for a little boy. It's super soft. It'll be a good sentimental piece. And then what I made were 2 hats. So I have a newborn size little hat. And I used Andrea Mowry's Harlow hat to kind of base this off of. And then this is just kind of based off of the Pearl Soho baby hat pattern. I can't remember what it is, but they have 3 different options. So this is one of them. It's just a roll brim. And the significance of this light, it said on the tag that it's light gray, but when I looked at it, I thought, well, I feel like that's blue. But years ago, I want to say my husband and I were married, but I don't know if we had any kids yet. Maybe it was right after our daughter was born, maybe. I'm not sure. I can't remember the exact date. But my parents and my brother and my sister-in-law, who was then his girlfriend, went to Estes Park, Colorado, and my brother and sister-in-law found the stitch and den there. And they had sent me a text, hey, do you want us to pick you up any yarn? I was like, sure, that'd be great. So they ended up picking up some little small skeins of yarn that would be really good for baby things. And I'd used up everything except 1 skein. And I was like, I'm just gonna hold on to this. And I'm so glad I did, because now the yarn from that 1 skein I've been holding on to was something that they purchased. And now their soon to be little boy will get to wear it. And really, honestly, this hat, they should get quite a bit of wear out of this. I mean, this has to be able to last a couple of years. I tried to make it roomy. Plus, with the rolled brim, I mean, you can just roll it up, and as they get older, you can, roll it back down. So that's that. I'm excited to give that to them. The next thing I finished were my alabaster socks. I love the way that these turned out. I mean, I haven't even worn these because I've been saving them. Because when I wear my socks, I wear them hard. And I've got a couple pair that look pretty rough. But it's okay. So I knit this, well, there's another one. Let's have puppet time. Okay, so I knit these socks out of Candy Shop yarn in cream soda. And the design was inspired from, can you take me seriously? If I talk about Jesus in the Bible, can you take me seriously with socks on my hands? But anyway, so the moment in the Bible when Mary gets her jar of alabaster and anoints Jesus with the oil and is washing his feet with her tears and all that, I'm just very moved and touched by Mary's story and what it has to teach us and what I've been learning from it. And so while I would be listening and reading and thinking about what happened, I would work on these socks. And so the significance is, well, first of all, it's ribbed so that the socks fit really well. And then it's socks because Mary washed Jesus's feet. The small cable details would be like the tears running down. And then in the back is the braid because she washed his feet with her hair. These are probably one of my favorite pairs of socks, how they turned out. They look like, when you have them on, they look very polished, put together, like they just look fabulous. And I chose this colorway from Deborah because I wanted something that looked like alabaster. Like it looks as though it's carved from stone. And this just ticks every box. Now I can't wait to wear them because even though it is so very hot outside, I still will wear my wool socks around the house. And then I get too hot, so I throw them off. And then when my feet get chilly again, then I throw them back on and off, on and off. And that's how I enjoy them. So now I'm glad I'll put those in my drawer. After I finished those, I had some decisions to make. I didn't necessarily want to, I did want to cast on new things, but I really wanted to finish some things more than I wanted to start something. Like I really needed to take a look at all of what I had going and either finish it or frog it. And so I went through and kind of cleaned up what I was working on. I did decide to finish up, and I have apparently one end at the top that I never wove in this end. And honestly, if you look inside this sweater are other ends that I just haven't woven in because no one will ever see it, because it's not the other ends that I haven't done anything with. They're not at the edge where they would hang out. This, I obviously should really do something about this. But I finished, I just noticed that there's a bizarre coloring on this. I finished my sweater that I was working on. So this is one of those sweaters where, like, when I was working on it and when I was holding it up, it didn't look like much, but putting it on feels so good. And I can wear this around the house. I've already worn it to church, even in the heat, because even though it's hot outside, our sanctuary gets really chilly. And so I decided then that's just another excuse to wear my hand knits. And what I did on the bottom, and I don't think it's kind of hard to show this, so sorry, is I did add some lace at the bottom. There we go. So then it could be just kind of feminine, like something pretty. So very simple, but then something a little interesting. And I used Holskarn Coast in the colorway Powder and Ivory to get just a really soft ballet pink color. And I did knit this wrong side out until I got to the lace, and then I flipped it to right side out. Now, because I knit all of the reverse stockinette inside out, so then I could just knit plain stockinette. There are some places where I didn't get both of the yarns, and you know, if that was on the inside of the sweater, it wouldn't matter because nobody would ever see it, but it's the outside of the sweater and you totally can see it. And surprisingly, it doesn't bother me as much as I thought that it would. It kind of is okay with me. I was like, oh, I mean, and there are different, like I can catch several places where I did not catch both pieces, both strands. But I think that that's okay. I don't mind it. I don't mind, because the nature of the coast with the cotton in there, it's just a little more casual. It's not super dressy, and so it's just put together and undone. And that's kind of what I love about it. I'm just gonna go with, I don't know, like giving myself like the grace to just let it be, that it was a project that I really just wanted something that I could wear around the house if I got chilly and just kind of throw it on. And then if I had to go pick up the kids, I could do that. And so I'm not going to beat myself up about, you know, any imperfections. If anything, that just taught me like, ooh, okay, so next time I probably wouldn't do that. Okay. Then I just needed something just kind of fun. So I made a vest. I kind of felt like I had to redeem myself after I completely messed up my neckline in the academic vest. So I gave myself a redo. I created my own charts, but I used the basic construction of the academic vest. So I still used Ellie's instructions as far as how to proportion anything. One thing I did change is for the neckband. I did start shaping the neckband the same time that I separated for sleeves. And so there for a while, when you're shaping this underarm part, I did have to keep track of how am I shaping this part of the sleeve and paying attention to how I'm shaping the neckline. But then once it goes straight, I mean, it's super easy. And yeah, so this is obviously based off of Barbie as far as my color choices. I have the K at the bottom, and even the chart that I had made had a K up down here, and then I did have B. I have the B charted for Barbie. But after I got up here, I just thought, I really want to be able to wear this whenever I want and not have it specifically tied to Barbie. So our last name is Kinnan, so that worked out perfect because there's my K. And the font is a nod to Barbie. The black and white stripes is a nod to Barbie, the original Barbie that was released. And then to make it my own, I did put I Am My Beloved's from Song of Solomon. So then this becomes kind of a romantic nod. Well, for me, it's a romantic nod towards my husband, that I love him. This will be perfect for Valentine's Day. I did stitch on a little heart, just very elementary, C plus T. And for the lettering on the back, I used duplicate stitch, and I charted the letters before I did this. I figured out how many stitches I had. I figured out how many columns and rows I had, and then went from there and charted out the letters and then stitched them on after I had already finished knitting. So I left this part blank and then went on and did it. I didn't just do this free form. If I did that, this would look a hot mess. So it fits great. I've also worn this to church. And I don't know that I've mentioned it before, but a lot of times I will wear what I've made to church, not so that I really want attention for it, but it is kind of me showing up with this gift that God has given me, and it's just mostly like my Thanksgiving. So that's kind of the thing behind it. So what I'm working on. I am currently working on a test knit for Florence Sperling again, which, I mean, let's just go ahead and say I think she is hands down my favorite designer. Because she just, her aesthetic I really like, and I just really like it. I really like her aesthetic, and her patterns are fun to make. They look incredibly intimidating, but then once you make them, they're not bad. Now, with that said, I've not made, is it the Scout shawl that's like stranded color work with intarsia? I have that pattern, but I haven't made it yet. But it's in my queue. Eventually I'll get brave enough to make it. But I just love her patterns. They're easy to follow. She's wonderful to work with. And, with every single, so this is my third pattern that I've tested for her. And with each one, I've used yarn that was already in my stash, and she has been completely kind and, welcoming of that, which I think is great for a designer, to allow test knitters to use what they have. If anything, for me, if I see that a test knitter was able to use stash yarn, and leftovers from other projects and stuff like that, and the designer has welcomed them to do that, I think that just makes the pattern more marketable, because everybody's, what they can afford or what they choose to buy is different. So anyway, this is, I'm still kind of in the mess right here, forgive me, but I am loving this. So let me tell you, this is super easy. The knitting part of this, super easy. Now, the panels where it's stockinette, yes, there's quite a bit of purling. I've gotten to the point now where I've had to purl enough that I don't mind it, which is really nice. A lot of times if I'm feeling frustrated, it's normally because I'm using a technique that I'm not comfortable with or feel fluent at carrying out. And so I just have to make myself do it until it no longer becomes a mental block. I just do what needs to get done and move on. And then all of the color work in here is russamine, so it's all inlaid. So you are only ever carrying one yarn while you're knitting it. All you're doing is just inlaying the colors. And as you can see, like okay, so color work, like anything that's like this or intarsia, I had a mental block about it because I want my work to be somewhat organized and still allow a little room for some mess. But overall, I don't want the mess to become overwhelming. And color work can get really messy because everything gets tangled. And I decided, I don't know who I heard speaking about this, but they said, you know, just take an arm's width of yarn, break it off, work with it. When you run out, get some more. And it never really gets tangled because it's not long enough to get super tangled. Now I've got some Holst Super Soft and it's kind of sticky and it sticks to itself. And sometimes that I have to kind of lightly untwist, but really it's not a problem. It's not a problem at all. And like I said, I've used all different kinds of stash yarn in here. This main color is Malabrigo, and I can't remember the name, nor do I remember the base, but it's a single ply, and I love it because the tonality of the gray color reminds me a lot of denim, which I think is perfect for fall. This is me, like, I'm a pale person, and I feel like this is my pale person fall colors. Let's see, the other colors are Holst, Coast, and Super Soft, kind of a mix of both. Sometimes I hold the same color double, and then like for the green parts, I have a lighter and a darker color held together because I was afraid that I wouldn't have enough of one of them. And then like in this pink, there's some Candy Shop. This yellow is Knit Picks. There's just an array of different yarn in here, and it's working out really nicely. The only thing that makes me a little bit nervous is the fact that this is superwash and the pink is superwash and the rest aren't. But we'll just see how it goes. I don't know that I'm going to take up a lot of mental space with being too worried about it. And because of the nature of this pattern, it is entirely charted. There are no written instructions other than how to begin, how to finish, you know. But the actual meat and potatoes of the pattern is all charts. So I really like it. It's probably not going to be for everybody. For me, I've really enjoyed it because I can sit at the table and knit, and then I can take my highlighter and mark off a row, you know, and that's just really satisfying for me. And, you know, I have to tape the charts together. So if you have any experience with sewing pattern PDFs, when you print them out and then you have to tape them together so you can get all your pattern pieces for sewing, it's similar to that. Like I have to take, you know, like right now I'm working on chart 4, and chart 4 has 3 pieces of paper. So I trimmed down the side a little bit to get off just a small excess, so then I can line up the chart. I tape it together with some double stick tape, and then I just go to town. So I'll sit down and I'll say, okay, I want to work on 4 rows. I want to go down and back, and then I need to go work on something else, or go clean something, or by then a child probably needs to be fed. And it's really satisfying for me in a way that kind of, it surprises me, but maybe I shouldn't be surprised as a former classroom teacher, and just anything that allows me to use like school supplies and to put things together. I really like it. And like I said, it's really easy to make. So, you know, if it's an object that you really want, don't let the fact that it's all charted freak you out. I gush. I just love this. I love the projects. I love Florence. I just, all the love. Okay. And then I consider that my work project because it's a test knit. I know that there's a deadline. I need to keep consistently working on it. So that's kind of like my work knitting. It's not really work, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like my during the week, I need to be working on this. And then on the weekends, or if I have to be out and about, I like to have something else that's kind of just my own, that has absolutely no deadline to be working on. So I have cast on for another half and half triangles wrapped by Pearl Soho. And I pulled out the purple skeins that I had worked with before. And I specifically chose to cast on this project because September is going to mark the time of year whenever my postpartum depression and anxiety became very severe. And when I say it was bad, just imagine worse than that. And so at the time, right before it got really bad, I was working on a half and half wrap in some other colors. And I wanted to have this cast on coming into this part of year as a time to just really reflect on the past year and think about other women that have gone, are going, and will go through what I went through. It's like the most epic prayer shawl that I could be working on right now. So yeah, it's very simple. Just garter back and forth, which is kind of just what I needed. And I didn't realize it until now. But I know that I like working with small needles. And working with the small needles does remind me what I said earlier about my grandmother. And when she would crochet, she'd crochet doilies with, these small hooks. And now I'm thinking, I'm kind of like that too, like in my own little way. That's kind of nice.